Today we're hugely excited to publish our research report on marketing trends at Sheffield's B2B SMEs. We wanted to create this report because as an agency, engaging with the businesses and professionals locally and regionally is an important part of our marketing strategy. Marketing is an ever-changing field, and so we're keen to keep our finger on the pulse of what people are doing, what's working, what the challenges are and so on, in order that we can continue to evolve our agency offering to best meet the needs of our existing and potential clients. And finally, we wanted to create a useful and interesting resource for small and medium-sized businesses in Sheffield and further afield to help them learn from what others have found is working best.
We're really grateful to the businesses that contributed to the report, and that was Ryan at Calibre, Stephen and Chris at Deeper Than Blue, Mark at Ferrier, Francis at Mapstand, Joe and Shashank at MEPS, Abby and Charlotte at Millgate, Alex at One to Call, Cam at Paper, Christina at Productive Machines, and finally May and Jake at The Curve.
The report also has guest contributions from Louisa Harrison-Walker, OBE, Chief Executive of the Sheffield Chamber of Commerce, Matt Robinson, Head of Nations and Regions at Tech UK, Claire Fletcher, Marketing and Communications Lead at Sheffield Digital, the Business Sheffield team at Sheffield City Council, as well as Charlotte Thompson, Project Director at Sheffield Innovation Spine, Tracy Johnson, Project Director at Tech SY, and Alexandra Balash, Managing Director at Prolific North.
So when listening back to the conversations that we had, I thought it made sense to break the report into 4 key sections. This was just based on what came up the most in the conversations. So there's one section about Sheffield and the role of place, then there's a section on content, there's one on events, and then the final one is a roundup of what's working. So we were interviewing all these companies, and Sheffield was something that they all had in common. So we thought it would make sense to ask them about the role that place and being in Sheffield plays in their marketing, if any. We were kind of surprised how much being in Sheffield influenced the way they work. So for example, people said that they were really grateful to be part of a friendly and collaborative ecosystem of business people in the city, and talked about the value of having people they know and trust just down the road. Stephen at Deeper Than Blue said that being in Sheffield gives them their tone of voice in their marketing, and Cam at Paper shared a similar idea about just kind of saying it as it is, and the idea that they're not yes people. Sheffield also plays a big role in the marketing for companies like One to Call and MEPS International, who sponsor local events. For example, One to Call sponsors Sheffield Wednesday Football Club and has their branding at the football matches. And MEPS International sponsor some of the snowflake decorations that you'll see put up around Christmas on the Children's Hospital. So actually, where these businesses are geographically located is quite key, along with all the other different marketing channels and tactics that are more digital and online. We really like the quote from Francis at Mapstand, who said, "Being in Sheffield puts you on the map." Content or story-led marketing is really key for the businesses in Sheffield that we spoke to. Christina at Productive Machines explained how doing content co-creation with a partner in the form of a joint blog post had really helped to build trust and authority, and she'd found that really, really valuable. At Deeper Than Blue, they said that content that was SEO focused doing its job actually led to customer wins in quite a quiet time of year in June or July. And Mark Cody at Ferrier said that he really finds it important to focus on being authentic and generous in the content that you're creating and the knowledge that you're sharing with the people on the receiving end. So he described some webinars that he'd put out there online for free for anyone that was interested, and he said that was a good way to build brand awareness.
Events were often a key part of the marketing toolkit for the businesses we spoke to in the report. Indeed, for Productive Machines, Deeper Than Blue, Millgate and The Curve, they reported that events were their most successful marketing initiative in 2024. Millgate, for example, organised an annual tech expo with 200 guests, which includes an overnight stay in Burton-upon-Trent. They actually chose to host it there because it's right in the centre of the country, so it's most suitable for getting as many people together as possible. The Curve run regular events in Sheffield that showcase their IoT solutions in person. I went to one of those fairly recently. It was really cool. They used IoT to make a cocktail remotely. And MEPS International sponsor and attend the UK Metals Expo, as well as speak at events held by British Stainless Steel Association, all about positioning them as experts around steel and steel pricing. Deeper Than Blue have a big focus on virtual events, which have been a great way to engage with existing customers and prospects.
So in terms of what's working across Sheffield's B2B SME scene, there isn't a singular strategy. Success seems to come from a long-term mindset and a blend of approaches, from co-creating content for brand awareness, even if the ROI takes a time to surface, to, as already mentioned, events, hosting them and attending them for relationship building. Essentially what underscores it all is embracing human moments. So beyond having awards and a website that performs well, we've found Sheffield's SMEs see the importance of also having a genuine brand voice and being active in the community.
We found that Sheffield has a more distinct business culture than we had imagined when we first started out on the report. There's definitely like a certain way of working, particularly around being active in the community and collaborating. I think Sheffield is a city of community and innovation, and that really came through in the conversations that we had. People aren't afraid of working together and sort of sharing their skills in order to win bigger deals and work collaboratively together. Sheffield businesses are active in the community, and there's a real focus on building relationships and reputation as well as revenue.
So just to conclude with some high-level trends we identified, the first major thing is that businesses in Sheffield have a major focus on brand versus demand. Across B2C and B2B contexts, there's a general view that businesses should be dividing their marketing investments roughly half and half between brand and demand. From our conversations with Sheffield's B2B SMEs, it was noticeable just how much investment went into brand compared with demand. We estimated, based on the conversations, that probably around 75% to 25% was focused on brand versus demand, which is probably quite unusual. So the second thing is that Sheffield's B2B SMEs think long-term and trust their instincts. Typically, businesses are prone to overinvest in the short-term and measurable and neglect the longer-term and harder-to-measure activities and initiatives. Here, Sheffield's B2B SMEs again break the mould, with marketing and business leaders comfortable putting their faith in activities that may not deliver short-term, easy-to-measure outcomes, but they trust their instincts that they'll ultimately see a return on their investment. And just finally, to conclude, from all the conversations with the companies in Sheffield that we spoke to, the city's business culture was characterised by collaboration, openness and a focus on craft. Sheffield's businesses are patient, wise and down to earth. Ultimately, though, there is perhaps an opportunity for the city to be bolder, louder, more ambitious and openly commercial.